nah, I've heard enough. I'm so fucking tired of your fucking bullshit. Shut the fuck up, yeah. And them motherfuckers always talking bullshit. Shut the fuck up, yeah. Everybody loud, nobody saying anything. Same recycled takes, same loop they running in. Call it conversation, it's a contest for attention. No one tryna listen, just waiting for a mention. You don't want the truth, you just wanna win. Talk over the point, then you circle back again. Say it with your chest, but it fall under pressure. Soon as it get real, now you switching the measure. I've been watching patterns, it's predictable at best. Same posture, same tone, same need to impress. Ain't no clarity here, just noise in disguise. Everybody talking like they allergic to being wrong in real time. I'm so fucking tired of your fucking bullshit. Shut the fuck up, yeah. And them motherfuckers always talking bullshit. Shut the fuck up, yeah. Panel full of voices, nobody taking a stand. Say a lot of words, never land on a plan. It's performance for approval, not a point being made. You can hear it in the shift every time they get pressed. Soon as it get tight, now it's jokes or a pivot. Soon as it get direct, now that's not what I meant. Nah, that's exactly what you said when it was safe to say. Now you tryna clean it up cause it don't land the same. I don't argue for sport, I don't talk just to talk. If it don't move the point, then it's better to walk. Too much noise, not enough, saying something that stick. Everybody got a mic, nobody saying shit. I'm so fucking tired of your fucking bullshit. Shut the fuck up, yeah. And them motherfuckers always talking bullshit. Shut the fuck up, yeah. You don't need a panel just to prove you can speak. Half these takes fall apart in a minute of heat. Say it simple, say it clear, let it stand on its own. If any 10 people backing it, it probably wasn't strong. I'm not here for the chaos, I'm here for the point. And if you miss that, then we done. No need to anoint. All that extra back and forth don't mean nothing to me. If it don't hold weight, it don't need to be said, let it be. I'm so fucking tired of your fucking bullshit. Shut the fuck up, yeah. And them motherfuckers always talking bullshit. Shut the fuck up, yeah.
Yeah. I ain't got it all worked out, and I don't think I'm supposed to. This is just me. Used to bend myself to keep things smooth. Say let's stay small, just make it through. Play the version people could really see, and lost some parts of what was really me. Wore a face that helped me get along. Held it together, called it being strong. And every year it got a little harder to tell you what was peace and what was armor. Thought by now I'd be a little further, little less tired, little more certain. But maybe growing ain't a clean straight line. Maybe it's true showing up over time. I am not every wrong turn, not every season that burned. I'm still learning, I'm still deep, still becoming who I can be. This is authentically me, not perfect, just honestly trying to hold on to my peace without pretending it comes easy. I'm still facing the truth, still shedding what I outgrew. And if all I do is stay real through the pressure, that's enough. that's enough for me. Had to stop expecting people to see the way behind the
See that?
calm. Some folks only know the version and never says when something's wrong. And I've been working through it slowly. One hard day, one breath, one choice. Trying not to lose myself between survival and a voice. I don't need to be the loudest. I don't need to prove I changed. I just wanna look at who I am. And I feel like I turned away. Getting older to make it clearer. Time don't pause so I can't hide. Some things heal and some things stay. And you just learn to carry right. I am not what got broken. Not every silence I swallowed. Every lesson, every hit taught me what I won't fake again.
What's good, y'all? What is good? It is your guy. Let me turn this off real quick. It's been a long day, and even though I've had kind of conversation with people, I thought this would be something that we need to turn around and start having just a little bit of a talk about, because this is something that's been happening for a multitude of generations to this date. And I think it's something that we need to really go at. Now, I don't have a whole lot of time today because I've been busy today. I'm busy through the next part of the middle of this week, um, getting things together for something that I'm working on with some people that I normally work with. So, if you haven't seen the actual title, it says basically, are people overestimated themselves? And I kind of want to get into this particular conversation. Hold up, this lighting is kind of bothering me. Just a smidget, just a smidget. The colors are really bothering me. So let's do this one, really clear. Now I feel like I'm in a little bit of a work mode. Um, the conversation being that the intelligence of people who are documented versus people who are not documented. And I don't mean immigration. I you guys should already know my stance are, and if not, I have plenty of videos. I got shorts. I got other stuff going on when it comes to that. So this is not the conversation for tonight, but rather, people get uncomfortable when you separate intelligence from legitimacy, and I think this is the part that we really need to focus on: intelligence versus legitimacy, because most of society is built on legitimacy, not actual understanding. And that's why somebody can walk somebody can walk into a room with a title and immediately receive trust before they even speak their name. Another person can walk in and with 20 years studying under something obsessively, understanding it deeply, helping people with it, explaining it clearly to people, and still be looked at sideways because no official institutional stamp was granted to them. This is the premise of the conversation that we need to mull over a little bit today. Now, before people start doing extremes, because I know you guys love your extremes. I don't know why you like to lower your intelligence, which is crazy to me. So before people start getting into the extremes, this conversation, no, this is not anti-education. I'm not telling people to stop going to doctors, and I'm letting and basically let random freaking people that they meet on freaking, say, Instagram or Facebook platforms freaking perform surgery on them in the goddamn basement. Why don't you calm the hell down for a moment? That's not what I'm saying. This is a conversation about something else entirely. It's about how society decides who is allowed to be considered intelligent, qualified, trustworthy, and even authoritative. Because human beings knew things before degrees ever existed. Yeah, I know a lot of people have been born into society where these things have already existed, but just because things already existed doesn't mean that there was a time that they didn't exist and they had to get to the point where they were today. A lot of people's mindset is that things exist and they don't question how they came to be. And that's part of the problem that we're dealing with today, even when we look at terms of education. You know, I've had plenty of people question me and tell me what I should know or that I am not qualified to say what I say because I don't have a doctorate degree under it. Even though patterns and self-study can lead you in those same areas, especially if you're reading from the same books that they read from. That part matters. But because there is no plaque hanging on your wall, keep in mind, this is also how we look at education in terms of a degree being handed to you versus you saying, I don't want the degree because I don't want the other extra courses that are not relevant to me. So let me pay for the actual courses that I need only and get a certificate. Does a certificate say that you don't have the education to be able to perform said thing? Or must you take, you know, English literature when you plan on performing surgeries? Is this important? Is it important for you to know Shakespeare when your heart is in being a cardiologist? Do you think that when you die on the table, that the doctor who's over you, after they did their best and understood that you've passed away and there's nothing more they can do, will quote Hamlet to you? Do you think that's gonna matter to your corpse? Do you think it's gonna matter to your family who they have to? Do you think that when your family is there and they're watching you past your final moments and they're now grieving over you, that these people who are sitting here in scrubs are going to now express in a very Shakespearean way or quoting Othello or whatever is going to make you feel better? I don't think this is important. This part matters. And I think people know this conversation gets very dangerous because once you start separating competency from institutional approval, you start realizing how much society runs on social permission. Not capability, not just capability, but social permission. And I think there needs to be a quick, candid conversation to happen for it because a lot of people who are qualified to do things are not being given access because they say, you know what? You're not in debt. You're not in debt, so we don't trust you. You haven't received this piece of paper. But what if I went to school to get the certificate instead of the degree? Well, honestly, I prefer that you had a degree to say that you took things that are not necessary for you to be actually able to do the thing that you want to go do, that says that you're qualified to go do. But I'd rather you know that you spent extra years doing shit that's not necessary to be talking to me today. So you're interested in people wasting their time, or you're only saying that you want to take in people who are going to be debt slaves? Because people who are there for a passion will not leave the thing that they want to do because they're inspired and they're happy to do it. Versus those that are like, I have to do this. I hate to do this. But how else am I going to get myself out of slavery, which is debt? What are you looking for in professions? What are you looking for? It's food for thought. And as I go through it, I'm thinking human knowledge. It, human knowledge existed before institutions. What's good, Gatsby? I Yeah, no, it seems like we're at least on the same page when it comes to some of this. Institutions existed before. I'm sorry, human knowledge, human behavior, human curiosity existed before institutions. The strange thing about the strange things about humans, especially in the modern people, is we talk like intelligence has been invented by universities, as if humanity was just sitting all up into the caves, drooling on them goddamn selves until accreditation appeared. People understood mathematics before there was a mathematics department. People navigated oceans before navigation schools took place. People practiced medicine before modern hospitals. People built structures that still stand today without engineering software. So clearly, intelligence in itself, in its own right, is older than institutions. That should be obvious. What institutions did was standardize what is considered to be knowledge. But that's different. And honestly, I think people blend together because it makes society easier to organize. Give me a Ask your question, I'll answer it in a bit. I kind of want to get this off my head. Because if one population grows large enough, reputation stops being enough. Let me say this again. Once population grows large enough, reputation stops being enough. If you live in a village of, say, 200, 300 people, right? Everybody knows who's competent and who is not. Everybody knows who fixes things properly. Everybody knows who understands herbs. People understand who's the liars. People understand who's most dangerous. Your work becomes your reputation. But once society becomes into the thousands, into the millions of people, nobody knows anyone anymore. Now institutions become trusted shortcuts. And this is why institutions have become the standard. That's why people trust now degrees that people are paid for, that we've seen people in power who have not been the most trusted people, but because they have it, we're supposed to believe that they are geniuses. And the truth of the matter is that they're shortcuts. They are filtered mechanisms within a structure. It is a social agreement that says we collectively agree this process represents the minimum competency for this particular person. Not the maximum intelligence, not the minimum acceptable reliability. And I think that distinction, and the people who should be seeing it who should understand those distinctions conveniently look right over it. Gatsby, what is your question, sir? And I'll see if I can give my own opinion on it. I don't know. Like this is a weird thing that we still see to today because people confuse, titles. Like as someone myself who came up, yes, I have a degree, but as someone who built his career off of something that he never went to school for. People confuse titles with understanding. I've met plenty of people who even went to school for the things that they claim that they wanted. That's within my field. And when I test them, it's like, what did you go to school for? You know little, if not half of what I already do. Again, not discrediting schools for whatever. There's a good chance I learned something in school that helped me in professional life. But that most of the stuff I learned on my own. So you say, man, let me see this real quick. Uh if my show got that would be, it's already big. If my show got big and you needed to hire someone in software engineering depending on their views. You said a guy with a degree or a guy with experience or a guy with a degree. Well, here's the best. Happy that you asked that question because it's the same way how I hire people even today, right? I would open my candidacy for both. So that means this is why people who claim, and we can talk about the job market later and another thing, but this is why they say we have a degree or equivalent. But let's be honest, most companies don't take the equivalency; they go for the degree, right? Even though the degree could have less experience than that has actually built its way up and have practical experience. And I mentioned this before on the channel. I would have test the same way how Google does test. I've done a Google interview. Google has tests. Yes, you have your interview. It could be a phone interview or then a virtual interview, but eventually you have to come in and you have to perform a test in order to know what you know, at least to qualify. That's not to say that I'm hiring a master, but I need to hire someone who knows the core or the intermediacy of what I need in order to have a functional company. And I think a lot of people, based on just how regular interviews work, is that you hire people based on what you think they know, what they say that they know, and what their resume may be telling the truth about. No one really performs assessments to gauge what people's knowledge is. When I hire somebody, I'm not typically too worried about what their resume says. Let's be honest with you. Now, I know there's a lot of companies that have a problem with this, but I don't really hire people based on what the resume says. Yes, I need to know that you've worked in a particular field. Yes, I need to understand that you have a particular threshold or a particular amount of things that you've gone through. That's cool. What I'm looking for is competency. And when I say competency, not things that you've already done within other people that you learned with, because here's the truth of the matter. You learn bad behaviors from other places. And what I don't want you to do is to bring your previous bad behaviors into my company. What I need to know is the things that you've learned. Do you understand lingo? Do you understand processes? Do you understand procedures? Are you someone that I can train? Because if you're not someone who I can, and you have a degree, why wouldn't I take somebody who doesn't have all the bad habits, who I can mold? to be just as, if not better than the person who has a degree, but they're jaded from every other place that they came from. When I'm interviewing, I'm also looking at, are you leaving the company because you are jaded and disheartened from them? Because you know what I don't want? I don't want you bringing your baggage to the company. I don't this company, whoever I'm hiring for, this should not be your escape. You should be here because you want a real opportunity and you feel like I'm even okay with the fact that you want to leave your company because, quite frankly, things are not really working well between you and your company. But if you're saying, man, I've been here, I'm not really doing well, fuck that place, da, 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 and it shows, by the way, in your interview. When I'm looking to hire people, I don't just look at, oh, you doing this, or you doing this, and you went to this school, and you went to, I don't care. I don't care what school you went to. I couldn't care less. I have adjectives in my mind. I have adjectives on my fingers that I'm looking for. Competitive or thoughtful, team player. I have adjectives. I have adjectives in my mind, and I don't care. Let's just say if I have 5 adjectives in my mind, right? If you don't make 4 of those 5 adjectives, I don't give a fuck if the Pope sent you. I'm not gonna hire you. I won't hire you. That's just me. Not everybody, and even the hiring process for companies have gotten so stringent that they shackle, they handicap. And I think there are things that you shouldn't be asking. You shouldn't be asking about the age, disability, if they're married, they're religious, whatever. Like, but there are so many other red tapes that a lot of people who are hiring managers do not learn, that people who are outside of hiring managers don't even learn about, that you can and cannot say. And I'm like, do me a favor, don't have me hire people. Why? I'm like, because you're not having me hire for character. You're asking me to hire for lies. And then you're mad at me for hiring someone who lied only because you don't want me to assess the thing that makes a person be very viable in the company, and that is their character. You want to know that this person is a good fit for the business. That means intellectually and also characteristically. Can they get along with people? And a lot of places are barring hiring managers from being able to go that far, hiring teams to be able to go that far. To the point where this is how we got to the point in this world right now. We have so many recruiters who recruit for a company who have no idea what the company really wants outside of what the hiring manager says. I want someone who can do this job. Here's the job profile for the company for this position, and this is what I want. And then they leave it up to the recruiter to pass these people along. And then when that person sits in front, after probably 1 or 2 interviews, sits in front of the person who's a hiring manager, whether it's me or somebody else, and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, this person, how did they get past the recruiter? But then again, that's a stupid question. I know how they got past the recruiter, because the recruiter doesn't really know what the job entails. They know what it says it does. They really don't understand the capacity that it takes to do the job. I'm not faulting them. I'm not saying that they're wrong or they're bad people or whatever. I don't. Which is why typically when I am having my own interviews with recruiters, I don't ask them questions that are outside of what they know. I ask them questions based on how they feel about the company that they work for that I'm trying to get into. I wouldn't ask them about, well, if the department has this problem, or if the department has this many people, or whatever, what is the biggest things going? They don't fucking know. They don't know. They don't know. And it's not right for me to throw that on them, to ask them things that they don't know, because it's a waste of both of our time. So if Gatsby, if you are a recruiter and I'm interviewing, I'm not gonna ask you shit about the department I'm hiring for because you don't know. But I will ask you things that I think that you can answer. Hey, why do you think that this company is why do you believe the company is hiring for this position? Why are they not? Why on your based on your own assessment that you don't think that these people can hire somebody within their own, either within their own department or people within this company who might be interested in the role within that department? What is based on your experience of working within the company? Because now I'm not asking you what's the department's problem, but based on your own experience within the company, why is it other people are not jumping to that department outside instead of you talking to people who are outside of the company itself? I'd ask questions like that, and typically these are the things that go into. Hey, you know what? Let me ask this question. I know we've been talking a bit about the department that I'm applying to, but based on your own experience within the business, what do you think the business is really needing? Not from the department's perspective, but from your perspective and how you see in your own eyes, someone who's living, who's on the ground. How do you see the business? And how do you think a person like me, within my skills, can help not just that department, but also can help in the business in general? A lot of people won't ask questions like that. A lot of people, I think, are scared to ask questions, which is your job in an interview. You think it's their job to just interview you. How do you know you're not leaving your company to go into a company that's just as bad? Worse, even. You're also interviewing them. People confuse growth, titles, and not necessarily understanding, but that happens on both sides of things. And we're not even just talking about just in business, but within people. But I want to make sure I try to answer a bit of your question. I think character and the ambition behind that character matters. Not everybody's going to get everything that they need, but they should get enough to understand who's good and who's not, who's decent and who's not even who's good. The idea of you're looking for the greatest of all time. You all want your Muhammad Ali's, you're not going to get them, because your Muhammad Ali's are paid enough money never to leave where they are. Can we just keep it a buck? And you can't have Muhammad Ali's if you're always looking for young people to come in and become the greatest. You can't say, I only want the greatest. I only want the people who are sitting at the top if you're looking for young people, because ageism happens. But as I was saying before about people who confuse status and the titles with understanding. I think we've all met someone who has, quote, credentials, who clearly should not be leading a goddamn thing. Like, can we just be honest? We've all seen that. Everybody has experienced this who's been in the workforce. Everyone. You know, you leave that interaction and what you're thinking is, how the fuck are you a professional here? And then and then on the other hand, you meet people without any institutional titles who clearly understand things on a deep level, not surface level, not YouTube knowledge level. I mean a real understanding, pattern recognition, connection making. They can do explanations. They have actual application to doing the actual work. People who can troubleshoot problems better than the quote officially trained persons that are standing out there. And for me, this creates a lot of tension because society wants the title and the capability to be one and the same. And they're not. They don't always overlap. Some people are very excellent test takers, and they're terrible real world thinkers. Some people are terrible informal systems, and they are fucking exceptional independent learners. They are. I know many people on both sides who would like that. They don't always have to overlap. They don't. And institutions are built around systems and navigating those systems. This is the uncomfortable part that I really try to break down between the people who work and they've been working their way up and also people who come in. And as someone who has to hire and train, as someone who is educationally trained but doesn't work within the education that he was trained in and can see both sides, I have a very unique position at the very least because school rewards a very specific kind of functioning. It likes structure, following. It likes deadline management. It likes informational retention is what we'll call it. Compliance is a big thing. So having a compliance framework and consistency, and yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the task time management. But these are things that you can also learn that has nothing to do with school. Not for nothing, you learn time management, but by simply doing this, knowing when the fuck you gotta walk into work and when you have to leave work. You learn time management. You don't need to go to school to learn time management. What I gotta get done and what I don't have to be in trouble with the next time I have to walk into work that I need to get done today, when I clock in and when I leave, you get time management skills from that. We got a meeting at this time. We got a meeting at 11. You walked in the door at 7. Guess what? How you translate and transfer, getting information, documentation, readiness and preparation for that 11 o'clock meeting from the time that you clocked in at 7 o'clock. Guess what? This is time management skills. Cultivating. You need to go to school for this? Do you really need to go to school to be taught to be on time? Because what do you say to hundreds of thousands of years of farmers? What do you say to farmers? They have to work within times, within the sun setting and the sun rising, seasons. They're great at time management. Because if you don't work within the time that you have, your family, the community, your farm, your livestock is all dependent on it. Did they have to go to school for it? No. But you can learn that being part of the family or being a ranch hand, right? You can learn this. But the idea I can't have you as a ranch hand because you know why? You didn't get accredited. You didn't go to school. In fact, Gatsby, as someone myself who's been a former candidate of school, and I think you're still in school. How many people how many places that you've been to, or how many degrees have you ever heard of that talks about how many places that you know in the US, how many institutions, how many schools that you know are built around pharmacology? How many? I'm in the city. Can't say about you. but I don't run into many schools that talk about you being a farmer. That is a subject, a specialty that is not really presented, especially within the scope of a city, of a state like mine. How many veterinarian? Absolutely. Pharmacology? Not really. No. And here's the sad part. New York City has plenty. It's not New York City. New York State has plenty of farms. Plenty. But pharmacology is not really something that is given. I agree, but even here in New York State, literally, if you're really ambitious, within 5 to 6 hours, you can cross the majority of New York City. So think about it. If you were really determined, depending on where you are in the city, I know like some people like to be extreme. I don't know why you people do this. But if you're really determined, in an 8-hour day, you can go from one side of the city and leave the other side of the city in 8 hours on foot. You can. Not the state, the city. And if you were driving, within an hour, and you'll see cows. You'll see cattle. You'll see grazing lands. You'll see all that stuff. You just got to go further north. Like, you'll see it all. And a lot of people don't think about this, or how desperately these places are needed. I know this because I've been outside of New York. I've traveled so many places, but I've also traveled even up and down my own state. I've done plenty of traveling. I've done gigs. I've set up little partials, tent little, how do you want to say it? Like, like a carnival that comes by and they set up tents and everything. Like, I've done all that stuff. I've set up little venues. I've done all that stuff. So I can tell you, just, you can go out to the middle of nowhere in an open fucking field and you build in a big attraction that people start driving up to. No roads, just driving up to in a field, and you have to set up cones and everything, or set up little stands or little boom ramps or signs for people to know this is the parking area. You can't just drive up where the fuck you want to and park your fucking car. Like, this is the parking area. This is the eating area. This is what I've had to do those things. But guess what? You don't need a degree for that. Let's also talk about the fact that there's so many things, right, that really require more paying attention and capabilities than sitting in a classroom all day. Let's be honest, even to the point that we look at school now, is school really developed to teach you how to deal with people, places, and things? Or is it, or to challenge your ideals of where you come from and what you do and how you think? Or is it heavily political now? Is it more about you caring about other things and other people than it is caring about the reason why you started school in the first place? When I went to school, to me, I wanted to get my shit done. I was not here for anything else. I'm not here for what goes on in the past. I'm not here for what happens in other countries. I'm not here for that. I'm here to make sure I get what I need so that I can live a better life, so that not only me, but my partners, because there's been plural, partners, that my family, that my friends, that I can do best when it comes to them. It has never been about anything else. And the aspect of how people should think about when it comes to school has dramatically changed. It would still be it would still be technology today, because farming is no longer what it used to be, because farming heavily relies on outside sources. Farming is no longer really beneficial to, or not even beneficial. There are some farms, but farming for the most part are not really building off of the natural land. All of their supplements, all of their materials, even their manure is outside fucking sources. Why do you need outside of the country shit in order to farm? Why do you need that? You don't have enough cattle to be able to farm? You don't have enough cattle to be able to, you don't think enough animals on other farms, or if you're sharing like they don't have enough cow and horse and goat and sheep shit, pig shit to share? All animals poop. You don't have enough? Like, what are we doing? Do me a favor, tell me, break it up. Let me know how to say your name, because I'm gonna have a problem saying your name. I can already tell. I don't know how I should say your name. Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem, right? Are you into farming simply for money? Because not for nothing, I don't think a lot of people really get into slaughterhouses because of money. They get into slaughterhouses because a lot of people get into slaughterhouses because it feeds a community, and that community tends to really respect them for that. Because a lot of people are not built. They're not built to work in slaughterhouses. Just like there's a lot of people that, as much as an easy job and they get all their meat after all the slaughterhouses, a lot of people are still not capable of working in a butchery. If everything didn't work out, if tech, compliance, if legal, if all this stuff didn't work out for me, I would have no problem working in a butchery. Now, keep in mind, a lot of my family, when I came up, we had a farm. We had a farm. I'm from the city, but most of my family come from the south, southern regions. So they had farms, they had all this stuff. I was spending summers, or if not, we would leave for the winter time, which would be around Christmas, and we would go down there, and I have to learn things. Do you think I learned things about hunting from being in New York? Of course not. I had to learn that being in the South. I can hunt. I'm no good at dressing animals, though. I just don't have the experience. This is one thing that I laugh about when I talked about with OG. I said, listen, I kill him, you clean him. Because, but people don't really jump into that profession because of the same way people don't really do it for farming. Farming keeps their family afloat, and they need the extra thing to be able to live a really good life. Because without you building on the community, even getting outside resources, you want to make sure that your crops are maintained yearly, because people are no longer eating in season, which means you end up now making agreements with logistics and other people, and keeping your land sanctioned to be able to do all this other stuff. And you have to worry about people trying to come in and trying to buy your shit. I can't even imagine the kind of annoyance and turmoil and for your land. Now, you may not be into farming at all. I'm not into farming at all. But I've watched enough shows. I understood what my early family started doing. I understand for a lot of people that farm. I understand just based on how a lot of constitutional stuff that is set up in bills about farmers and everything else like that. or how the companies try to come in for GMOs and everything like that. I understand how difficult it is for farmers. And the sad part about it, I wish more people really did know, including myself, because a lot of people really don't understand where their food comes from. This great, vast nation really doesn't have an idea of where their food comes from. And that's sad. I'll admit, I'm a part of that. But a lot of us don't really know where it comes from. They can tell you they want organic this, grass fed that, whatever. But they really don't understand. If they really took the time to consider how long it takes for them as a human being to come from a child to adolescence, and then try to translate that to livestock. And then for them to be picky about what type of livestock they want to eat. Because let's be honest, they'll want to eat cow. Some, and it's decreasing, by the way, will want to eat pig. But look at all the other livestock that we have. A lot of people to this day are still not eating goat. They're still not eating sheep unless they're getting it from sausage, which is a shame because a lot of sheep stuff. But they'll eat some will eat lamb, even though a lot of people do not eat lamb because lamb is expensive. It's considered a delicacy. Let's be honest. One of the most common things that we have running around is horses. People are not eating horses. A lot of people are worried about attacks that come from wilderness like bears, but let's be honest, people will hunt down bears to keep society safe, but they're not eating bears. There's a lot of potential game out there that human beings won't eat. People don't like sharks. But I'll tell you, shark is delicious. I only ate bear once. That shit was great. Now I can understand it's very gamey, but not for nothing. So is goats. So is, well, different distinctions between goat and ram. But so is sheep. There's a lot of gamey meat out there. People are so picky, but they want to eat what they want to eat. And I don't have a problem when you want to eat what you want to eat. But then also we have a point in the world where we can't bash other people from wanting to eat what they want to eat so long as they're not eating their own species. Because there are lots of other animals. It's not common, but there are lots of other animals that do eat their own. And mainly they do it not out of commonality, but they do it out of necessity. So for instance, in Florida, people like to eat gator. I've had gator steak. Fucking a little tough, but it's still really good. It was good. And I've had gator twice. I've had it as a stew, which was actually pretty good, nice, and it was tender. I don't know how they did it, but it was good. Yeah, NPC, come on. Now, not me. I'm not gonna say I'm a goat, but goat was pretty good. And gator was good. Those 2 times that I had it, I've had, even though I didn't know it at the time, it was given to me as a surprise, and I wasn't really keen on it. I wasn't really happy with it in the first time. This happened to me twice. So there's been 2 animals that's been given to me without my knowledge. The first time was turtle. It was turtle, kind of like a soupy kind of thing, and I wasn't a fan of it. So I was like, I'm not eating no more turtle. And the second time was rabbit. My first time eating rabbit, and I was like, this is actually pretty good. So I can eat rabbit. I know I will eat rabbit, no problem. But like for instance, I'm not gonna eat escargot. I don't like snails. I don't like them alive. I damn for sure I'm not gonna eat them when they're dead. And I can tell you this for sure because you know how many people love. You could think about it for yourself. How many of you love clams? I don't. I don't eat clams. I don't eat mussels. I will eat other shellfish. I'll eat lobster. In fact, I love crab more than I love lobster. Probably more than shrimp, but I don't. I eat shrimp more than I do crab. But I don't care. I don't like. If you told me pick between lobster and crab, I pick crab. I'd pick crab. Majority of the time, I pick crab. I wouldn't really care for lobster. I'd pick crab. But if you ask me which is more common for me to get my hands on, I pick shrimp. And I don't really care for shrimp at all. It's the same thing for when you're looking at your beef. What would you want? Would you want more of goat or would you want more of beef? I eat beef more than I do goat. Not everybody can be on that. So it is what it is. Jen, what's going on? We got Jen in the building. Holly, you're in the building. What'd you say, Holly? Where'd all the girls go, wrestler? Where'd all the girls go, wrestler? Do you want me to mod for you? No, I don't need you to mod for me. I'll do what I gotta do. Believe me, I'm not new to this. I'm not new to having to do a stream all by my goddamn self. I'm okay with it. There was a time when we had way too many mods, so I have no problem doing this all by myself. Especially because you can see I don't have a lot of people in here. I can do this no problem. You stopping by, stop by. You do whatever you like. You know, people walk in, people leave. You know, people believe that it's not really something special to be at my channel unless there's a scandal, and they believe that I'm a part of it, which is why a lot of people don't show up because I stay out of scandals. Even scandals that have me attached to it, you don't see me really going live about it because I don't see the reason to try to monetize things that not for nothing I can't monetize. You don't want to talk about that time with it? Why? I'm not gonna get any money from it. At least if I'm gonna talk about something, let me get paid. God damn it! So I don't get paid. Hey, Jennifer, spell your name however you want to spell it. Don't let these people who are not teachers themselves, who are not teaching anyone else themselves, spell your name however you want to spell it. Don't let anyone try to fuck with you. I said what I said, Gatsby. Spell her name however people want to pronounce her name is whatever, fine. So long as she answers, she can respond, and she doesn't take offense to it, it's all good. Stackbot, what's good? He is a guy who's doing pretty well for himself. I was looking at your post earlier today on Facebook. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a stream I'm gonna have to do about that. By the way, it's not about you, but it's about the aspect of doing that. There's a conversation I'm gonna have at some point about it because not everybody understands the initiation of people. So let me put it that way. For those who know, Jen, I think you might know. For anyone who's been paying attention to community posts, you'd know. But it's not about that, but it's about what we've experienced throughout the entirety of the platform. And I think at some point we need to have a conversation about that. I just haven't figured out what angle I'm going to come at it from and how I want to deliver it just yet. And since I'm going to be busy tomorrow, I'm going to be busy the day after that. I'm even going to be busy probably good chunk of Friday, but maybe we might cover it on Friday. Maybe. Don't hold me to it. I mean, you can. I mean, not for nothing. Here's my thing though. Here's the part of the what we're talking about right now, Gatsby. Do you need to be certified if you're just good at what you do? You don't need any certification. You don't even need a license. You don't even mentor. If you're just naturally gifted, I just say, brother, do your thing. I didn't need a guide. I didn't need to go to school. There was no PUAs around me. I had to learn. It's just trial and error. I failed my way into being who I am. So, if people say, I can't trust you, wrestler, because like you ain't certified or you ain't got no license. I'm like, true, but are you ready for me? They're like, shit. They be calling the waiter over, like, check please. I'm ready to go right now. I'm like, we didn't really eat nothing. Like, wrestler, I'm ready to go now. But we didn't like get to dessert yet. Like, wrestler, we should go now. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, like the lady said, check, absolutely. She's ready to go now. And I got no problem with that. She said she don't need dessert here. She could handle dessert in another place. But I didn't need help doing that. And I'm pretty sure you ain't need help either doing that. So, sometimes we don't really need the additional help in order for us to get really started, right? And I think this is the part, like, when we start looking at the institutions, and we start looking at the management of institution. Because, by the way, let's just be honest with you, early in our years, right? Early in our years, the PU waves that started showing up in before a red pill thing started popping up, but the PUS started popping up online and started being on like shows like not Jerry Springer, but like Ricky Lake, Donahue, for sure Jenny Jones, like, not for nothing. No, I listen, if I could show you, honestly, I might drop you some pictures of how I am when I'm out with women, but I don't want to do a video. So I know I got pictures of me with many women. Maybe, but I want to protect their identity too. But maybe I might show you guys if I put some. I have to think about how I want to do that. If I want to do that. But like, there's a real purpose of institutions. How I want to say this. Let's talk about the real purpose of institutions in risk management, since that's more closer to what I do. He said, "Send me the link in the bio." um. So here's the thing. Now, here's where people start getting very reckless in conversations, I believe. And I'm going to make sure I try to hone it down by telling you guys this is where people get reckless. So hopefully you're not one of these people. Because once people hear criticism of institutions, right? 'Cause a lot of people like to feel very emboldened or very proud about the fact that they have something that they can stamp upside their wall, right? And I have that as well. I don't stamp it on my wall, but I do keep it. I never framed it, I never plaqued it, it's just not important to me. Yes, my degree is actually not important to me. There are people that once they hear about the criticism that happens within institutions, they swing all the way, like I said, to the extreme, to fantasy. No degree matters. Anybody can do anything. Experience is all that matters. And I think some of you might even be thinking that I'm saying that. No. Because that thought process becomes too dangerous. Because society cannot function entirely off of what we consider to be self-claims. You need verification systems, at the very least. Once human lives are evolving. You know what I mean? We need that. And I think this is very important for everyone in their lives. No, how I want to say this, because society cannot function entirely off claims. Don't even worry about it. No one, they're already banned. It's someone that believes that they're gonna be able to get a social media following off of me. Don't worry about them. By the way, Gatsby, this just let you know your boy's doing well. Your boy's doing well. He doing good. He doing good. Just let you know your boy's doing good. When someone else is like, I need him to validate myself. Hey, I can't help who's weird or not, Gatsby, but that just let you know I'm doing good. When another guy, when another guy wants to hang on my nuts, just let you know I'm doing good. I'm out here. I'm doing good. And I'm doing good, and I'm on 1,000 subscribers for over a year. But I'm doing good when you get other people that just like, can I just can I just can I just gargle your nuts, please, wrestler? They just when they like desperately want to just hold your sack, just hoping that maybe somebody will pay attention to them. I mean, it is what it is. I'm flattered. I'm flattered, but I'm like, you need to chill. Listen, hey, Gatsby. Even during the time I had to show the clip that you showed, the clip that you gave me on Discord. I had to show it during stream. I was like, yo, because this motherfucker, the fucker that came up that he was saying all that shit when I showed you your short. I was like, yo, Gatsby made that. Gatsby made it, and guess what? It was the same motherfucker that you just saw in the chat right now. And you know what was his first words, Gatsby? Is there a mod that can drop Gatsby's link in the chat? That was their words. Instead of like, damn, I really fucked up. I've been really trying to troll this guy. It ain't been working. And even he shows me a clip of someone else that did content on his shit. Instead of me saying it don't really work, now I want that nigga's link too, so I could gargle that nigga's shit as well. I agree, Gatsby. That's what it was. The entire exchange. But what can we do about it? We listen. We're not here to tell other people how they should live their lives. You know, the saying that you guys know me. The saying I go is that we listen. We don't judge.
All right, let's just admit it. That didn't happen.
Absolutely, because everybody knows I absolutely judge. I judge my coworkers, I judge my family, I judge my girl, I judge everybody. I am a very judgmental person because I am analyzing everything in life. Everything. I judge. I fucking judge. I do. I may not hold you in contempt, but I do judge. I absolutely judge. In order for me not to be cutting you off every day, all day, everywhere you go, which is the only reason why I have my care, mercy, and grace. Other than that, do not believe I'm not looking at you and I'm not thinking, what the fuck is wrong with you? What's wrong with you? If you believe, by the way, newbie, Yeah, you newbie. If you believe I'm strict and moody, and you haven't really been around here like that, you're a victim. Because Jennifer knows me long enough. Jen, just like the rest of my chat, already knows what happened last year when I professed what we were looking at for the future. Sorry if you guys don't know. If you got a, by the way, if you have a problem with mood, that's not my problem. That's yours. If you have a problem with mood, if anyone here has a problem with mood, if you have a problem with boundaries, if you have a problem with standards, you can exercise that X button, or I can call you an Uber. I'm staying in the news. I'm ready today. I said what I said. This bitch wants to be a part of it. New York, New York. Not really doing shit. Think they're talking today. But they need to be a part of Wrestler Stream tonight. And all they learned is what, Jen? You've been watching me long enough. You ain't even got to worry about them, Jen. They've been banned tonight indefinitely. Hey, everybody. Hand to chest. Lower our heads. Another one bites the dust. We're not worried. I I love seeing a stack of people that bad. I feel really like accomplished. I'm not even gonna lie. I love seeing a stack of names like that I've really gotten rid of. I love it. I know some of y'all don't like it, but I love seeing names. I've learned to embrace it. I embrace eternity. I love it because it lets me know I'm doing well. I'm doing good. It lets me know that at some point, at some time, someone's gonna say, "You know what, wrestler? I've been watching you from the shadows, and you've endured a lot of haters, and you've handled them very well. Let's talk. Let's talk." You know why I can tell you that? Because it's already happened. It's already happened in the past. And I've been a part of other people's channels. I know you guys are only thinking, what channel was that? Because I didn't see you on the panel verse. And this is why I tell you guys got a problem. The world is bigger than the panel verse. Now, would I expose you to those platforms? No. I wouldn't dare do that because I don't think they're ready for the limited mindset of what happens to a lot of people in those spaces. Down boy. Down boy. There are absolutely cute and beautiful women that follow me. Down boy. Jen, every time you see me drink, that's just me beginning on my meds. Every time you see me drink, don't feel bad that you're off your meds because I'm off my meds until I get on them. And you see me on my meds when I go to to drink. Don't feel bad. I appreciate you, respect you, and love you just the way you are. It's okay. It's all right. You've never heard me judge you. But when someone says I'm off my meds and you guys see me drink, I go, so that means you really don't catch a lot of times when you catch me not drinking, right? Are you really sure to see? Are you really sure you would like to see a entirely sober, analytical, and brutal wrestler on stream? I don't think you want to. You'll be like, he's not fun. He is not fun. He is extremely analytical. He is catching me in the corner. He's not letting me run around with any bullshit. He is holding my ass to task. He is not being fun. He is draining all of his own chat. Nobody is safe. I don't think you really want to see him. This is me medicating myself. You know, like people who like they got a problem, like my Fosters or my whatever. I'm drinking something new tonight. You know, those trolls are normally not here. I do this so I can loosen up, so I can actually have fun with you guys. You guys don't want to see me serious and not fun. You really don't. Those of us, you get my videos, you get my shorts. I don't think you guys really want to see a live stream of me not being fun. I don't think you do, Gatsby. I think you're gonna realize, like, there's a lot I do not tolerate at all. Like, that list will only get larger. It really will. Because I'm just not gonna be in the mood. Because I'm just not. I'm not gonna think about, well, maybe they meant it this way, or maybe I'm like, no, you know what? They disrespected. Off with their heads. Goodbye. I'm just saying. Might work, might not. I'm thinking it won't, though, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of people just really don't understand that. But let's just be honest, it all falls back into education and how we see ourselves. Because the same way how we're even discussing the trolls, right? We've done, Jen, you've been here. Gatsby, I think you've been here as well. We've already gone through this. Now I'm talking about the educational portion between people who are accredited and not accredited when it comes to intelligence and what people know and don't know. But let's just be honest, it also falls into the intelligence of how people believe that they are good trolls and they're not. Everybody believes that if I do the very small basis of what everybody else does, which is what they've done, oh, look, he's not on his meds. And I say, okay, cool. I'm not on my meds. What am I supposed to do? Get on my meds for you? By the way, I have no allergies. I have no meds. In fact, I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial to you. I'm pretty much a peak specimen. I am 44. No allergies. I cook. I look good. Women chase me. I dress well. I know I like to dress very down key so that you guys don't really feel away. I walk out. I eat at pretty decent places, but I like to cook for myself. Chick is nice. My family, my friends is doing good. I have a pretty decent. Now, I'm not rich. I have a decent job. I do whatever. And I like to have conversations with people to say, like, you can also do whatever you want to do. I don't try to inspire or tell you that you guys are not doing shit and you need to do this. I don't do that. I always question, like, do you understand that the majority of societies across the global sphere rely on the middle class to supplement the rich and the poor? If you're in the poor, you get access to things that the middle class don't get. Even when it comes to like healthcare, If you make a little bit too much money, you make too much money, and now you have to send your kid to school. But you also make too much to be able to qualify for some of the top housing that is strictly under a housing lottery. You don't think about that? You don't consider that? Rich people don't worry about that. But the poor also get access to housing that you don't get access to. You're designed as the middle class to work to pay for everyone else. Doesn't matter where I sit at, but when I do my content and I ask, what are you doing? Where are you at? What's your life looking like? And if you could change things, what would it be? Not for me to tell you, but what would it be for yourself? We're not talking about if I had $1 million. We're not doing that. What could you actually do based on your actual skills and what you could learn within the next 4 to 5 years to change things around for you, your friends, your children, your spouse, your loved ones? What could you do? Because I'm gonna be honest with you. If you think that it's gonna be built around you watching other people online doing shit that you're not, going somewhere that you're not, probably not going anywhere that you could go, and you thinking that you're gonna get somewhere, I don't understand why you're watching me. I know. You guys want me to do this. In order for me to prove to you that you are worthy, by the way, let me do this. In order for me to prove to you that you are worthy of more, you want me to show up on stream, doing IRL in a Benz, going to high class restaurants and hanging out with supermodels and on a red carpet or whatever else. Let me understand this. And the entire time that you be watching, right? What would you have been doing? Because I don't need you saying, oh my God, look at everything Wrestler's doing. I'm so happy for him. I don't need you to be happy for me. If my whole premise is that you should be happy for yourself. So if you let's just say, even if you started seeing me do all that, now I'm sitting here talking to you about how I'm gonna be in the next Porsche. Or you know what? Let's go on a IRL today, people. We gonna go down to the dealership and we getting a whole Bugatti. How are you feeling better about your life and what you're doing, and how's that helping you and your family, your kids, your loved ones, your little nana that you had to put in fucking hospice last week, last month, last year? How was that helping them? It's like you're comfortable with rooting for everybody else doing well, but you won't root for yourself. Why? Why? Why you won't root for yourself? Why you don't think that you deserve something? Why you don't think that you can't do something? This is not some motivational shit, but I question if you, especially if you're a person that claim that you're smart, they claim that you're doing you claim that you're doing what you can, but you know there's a little bit more that you deserve. Why don't you do it? I mean, you're not gonna get a second chance. This is the only life that you're living. You don't get a redo. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is not a tech rehearsal. This is all you got. When you die, curtain closes. What are you doing? Do you know if you're watching me right now, you already have something that's very important compared to other people, especially to younger people? If you're around my age, and I'm going to say from 32 to 56, I'm going to hold us in the same age bracket. If you're within my age rank, You have something that the 31 and below and the 56 and above has that they don't. For those who are below that age rank, the 31 and below, you share the time to be able to do things, to shape things, and to be able not to live the best life that you have for you, your family, and your friends. But you can also shape those who are in those earlier brackets. For those who are 56 and above, you have an opportunity to secure that the rest of your life, regardless of how you look at your life, could be a great life for you, your family, for those coming behind you, but also to influence not those generations who are right below you, but for ones who's going to come up after them to live a good life if you put the proper strategies in place to be beneficial to them. But it first must mean that you must be willing to first invest in yourself. Not, I'm doing this for my family. I know that sounds very selfish. Not, I'm doing this because this would be great for my job industry. That's not what I'm asking. Not, I want to make sure I send my daughter to college, to send my son to college, to look after my nephew, to look after the guy who I was really cool with and his son or his daughter going to school, to look after my illegitimate, nobody knows baby down the road. By the way, they should be looked at. Well, the kids should be looked after. I don't give a fuck about the wife or the husband. It's your time to do the things that are most beneficial that will be for the future. But most of you care about what you're doing to look after other people, not understanding that you cannot pour into an empty cup. Your cup must first be run up over to take care of other people, to pour into other people's cup. You need to look after yourself and have the maximum for yourself to be able to look after other people. I know people don't like to hear that. They leave. They're like, fuck this guy, Russ. Like, he doesn't understand. Life is very difficult. He doesn't get me. He doesn't get what's going on. My life can't be that way. And if you're somewhere between the ages in your 20 to 32, fuck are you talking about? You got time. But let me also say this. You're not guaranteed to make it to my age of 44. You're not guaranteed. Which means since you're not guaranteed to make it to be of old age, you should be thinking about what you want to do, how you want to do it, and what would life look like in 5 years, in 10 years. Not how life would look like for you, but what you would look like in life. What would you look like in life? Not, oh my God, and my husband's going to be like this, and my kids are going to be like this, and I'm going to be this, and I'm going to be... No. Fuck your fantasy of other people. What do you look like? Not how you think your career and everything is going to turn out. As a human being, what do you think you will be like? This is important. People like to focus on what kind of job that they will have, where they're going to be living, how many kids they might have, the partner they will have. You're not guaranteed none of that shit. But you can be guaranteed what type of person you will be for the future. So let me ask you, who will you be in the future? Not what you will have, What's your character? Who you will be? How is he or she going to obtain the things that they want? Food for thought. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, I'm in my 30s. I'm in my late 30s now. I'm in my 40s. I'm in my 50s. Time ran out for me. And you know what? If you believe that way, yeah, it's over for you. For those who are in their 50s or are in their 40s or late 40s, whatever, and you believe you can still do shit, even if it means that you must go back to fucking the institutional freaking indoctrination centers. If it meant the rest of your life can set the rest of your future up for the people who's coming after you, personal question for yourself, do you feel that it's worth it? If it meant that instead of you living in poverty or living paycheck to paycheck or living in debt, that you could finish your life. By the way, clearing your debt should not be the goal of your life. Can I just be honest with you? It should not be the goal of your life. But if you could leave life knowing that you won't be passing down debt to other people, that you could see the world or see the country or even do the things that you would like to do, that you know that your children, if you have children, that your friends, if you have friends, Jesus, if you have friends, are still living very comfortable within your retirement years, right? Isn't that worth it? Let's just say you have $100,000 in debt and you went to school in your late 40s to 50s, and now you're working a job that pays you really fucking well, and you know that by the time you die, you'll never be able to pay off that debt. What you're getting paid, how you be able to live your life, how the things that you were able to do prior to being in that debt, even though you were already in debt, but now you have more money than you were ever able to make in your life. Because maybe you've been working doing, say, trucking, right? But trucking really didn't get you as far in fulfillment, and trucking is getting taken by AI and everything else that you claim to be, or robotics or whatever. And then you say, what am I going to do now? And maybe your husband or your wife say, you know what, you can go into medicine. You can go to engineering. What about aviation? What about infrastructure? What about chemistry? What about law? All these different things that you could do, because you're not stupid. You've been living for decades of years. Why can't you? But most of you say, what? I've been doing what I've been doing for so long. I can't start over now. Who told you that? I mean, let's be honest. If human beings were no longer living to 100, to 80, to 100, to whatever year, and we were now living 300, 400 years of age, what would stop you from starting over? If you knew you had an additional 100 to 200 years under your fucking belt, what would stop you from building a new career? What stop you? I think the majority of you would be like, honestly, nothing. I would go to school. And I would go to school just to make sure that my family, my friends, or even me, I lived a better life. So why don't you think of yourself to do that now, rather than say, I'm too old now. I guess I'm going to just hollow myself out right now under debt that I can't pay. Not that you're really paying your debt right now, and eat hamburger helper until you can no longer do that, so you can eat fucking dog food. Make it make sense. Let me ask you, why? I understand the struggle is real and the struggle is nasty, especially for those who of us who are looking after our elders. But let's just say if you're looking after your elders, right? What's stopping you from putting yourself in the position so that their end of life care can be just as good as your end of life care. What are you saying? You can't go back to school? Well, maybe some of you guys. I never been to college, wrestler. So you tell me you can't reach out to the state? You can't reach out to a program, or maybe you make enough money. Maybe you can't take in that get prepped for an SAT so that you can turn around and go to school so that it can be the most beneficial thing to give yourself an advantage to a life that you've never held before. Something to think about. Maybe if we had more people in their mid to later lives going to education, maybe we wouldn't have so many industries being so ageist. Have you ever thought about that? Instead of you telling yourself what you can't do, even though you've lived way more life and you're way more responsible and way more dedicated compared to those who are figuring themselves out, finicky, won't stay still because they're still figuring out life that you've got already figured out for yourself. And now you're just looking for stability. They're not stable because they're antsy. But you are stable. You do know what's most important, but you won't give yourself an opportunity to be in a position that will take care of you, your family, who's already ahead of you, your friends who are there in line with you, but also those who are going to be after you. Because one thing that we can all experience right now, that we can also say that those who are coming after us are also going to experience, is that as we get older, something very serious happens. And that is, as we get older, people who we know, their friends, their families, our aunts, our uncles, their aunts, their uncles, they start passing. And when they start passing, it reminds us that we're getting older, that we're at that time where people who've been watching, who have babysat us, who have been cool, other people who have maybe even fed us at one point, people who we watch, you never know. Maybe there was that aunt of a friend or whatever. You watched her growing up when you were in your teens and in your 20s. You was like, I cracked the shit out of that. And here she is in her later years, gray hair, ready to pass. And you're like, I don't want to touch that because she's no woman. Or maybe you do. But you're thinking like that. I remember when I wanted to crack that when I was so young and I'm still friends with this guy, right? And here you are now at the funeral. But you have to remember something that's more important than that. Are you at the stage of your life that you want to be in? And what's stopping you from being there? And that's part of the conversation that we're having. Because there are people who convince themselves that they can no longer be or be at the place or be at the level of competition because of how the institutions have set themselves up to look at information, education, experience due to accreditation. I know I just said a couple of rhymes in there. People that they mistake. They're making so many mistakes in these areas, looking at other people, saying it's a young person's game. Education, fuck education. Time is not a young person's game. It's a person's game that is still there to capitalize. There are many people who do not become wealthy until they're in their late 40s, if they're lucky, to 50s. The majority of people don't start making it there a shit ton of money until they're in their 50s. There are many people. The difference between way back then and now is that there were people who didn't start opening businesses until their 40s, and now people are opening their businesses now in their 20s. And even the majority of people who open their business now in their 20s aren't successful. They just have businesses. It doesn't mean that they're making millions or even thousands. They're working. So many people don't want to jump into things that they can be beneficial on. Now, maybe in your later years or your 40s and your 50s or whatever, maybe you're not me. Maybe you don't have a steady hand. Maybe you're not doing surgery. Maybe you're not doing that. Maybe medicine's not really your thing because you don't want to dive into the whole science aspect of it, the math aspect, the chemistry. But infrastructure, aviation, as I said, what else I said? I said engineering or law. These are things that you can still learn and still do. Mistakes are in those that people think that they can't do things that will shape their society or even affect other people. And this is why, not for nothing, licensing exists. Not because institutions have discovered intelligence, but because society is trying to reduce, it's really trying to reduce catastrophe. It really is. Like, this is the real conversation that people don't really want to look at. And this is why I look at it in terms of risk management, right? The institution is basically saying we need standards. We need processes before we can hand people responsibility over other people's lives. And honestly, this is reasonable. This standard exists for a reason. The issue is when standards become confused by superiority. This is where we fucked up. These are not the same things, because a degree can prove that you've had exposure to a system, right? It cannot perfectly measure your judgment. It cannot measure the kind of ethics that you have. It cannot measure the adaptivity that you've gained. It cannot perfectly measure whether somebody will freeze under pressure or will somebody will rise to the occasion. Real life keeps exposing us into many situations over time, over and over again. And a lot of people don't really want to grasp that, because they don't want to look at the difference between self-taught people and people who build themselves into social hierarchies, right? Self-taught people, honestly, they threaten social hierarchy, which is pretty interesting because social hierarchy is the thing that we've been working on since the dawn of society. I think part of why people react emotionally in, say, self-taught competence is because honestly it threatens people who have built a hierarchy that say that you must do this, you must do this, you must do this in order to get there. And that's really what's underneath a lot of this chain, because titles carry positioning. It carries protection. Me, if I spent, say, 10 years, money, debt, identity, stress, sacrifice, building my status around being qualified, being the qualified one, and somebody without any pathway, someone who just came out of nowhere, someone who stands outside of me, but they're still very intellectual, this could create a sense of insecurity. Not everybody. Some professionals are extremely secure. Some are brilliant, even. But others, Others quietly rely on institutions to validate their importance. Can we just keep it a buck? So when somebody outside of the structure demonstrates that they are competent, that they are on par, to some people this it's an offense. Not because the information is wrong, not because legitimacy is being challenged, because you're seeing it everywhere. This happens in music all the time, in the arts, say programming. 'Cause programming is now taking a whole bunch of people who have degrees, but let's just say early programming or script writing or anything like that. You can walk in and you just have to show what you got. Now, companies are only taking you if you got the degree, but that wasn't the case before. You could learn so many programming languages and make your way to the top, but now people are now like, oh, we need you to have a degree. Since fucking when? Same thing happened to writing. Why do I need to go to school for writing? If I study the great books, libraries that's been around for years, for decades, and I become a good writer. Same thing, finance, fitness. Do I need to go to school, by the way, for a fitness degree? When I'm coming to you in great peak shape? If I study a bunch of history, do I really need to have a degree in history? The internet exposed something institutions use to control, and that is access to information. Now, information is everywhere. The issue is now discernment. And honestly, some informations are still struggling to this day because they were, at least at the very least, partially built on controlled access. The internet broke information when we look at hierarchies. Now, I understand some people are very annoying, to put it that way, because even when people go to the hospital or things like that, they'll just go on their phone and they'll start looking whatever and start challenging doctors. And I can understand why there's a bit of a nuisance for that. But I can also tell you that there's so many doctors still to this day that, despite everything they've been taught, still reach for the internet. And I find that very interesting. Because a lot of people still need libraries of information. They still need connection. They still need places that they can go to, like you say universities, mentors. They still need money to get access to these areas because people are not doing shit for free. And even some places, they're going to need to travel in order to get there. A person can study for 12 hours straight in their bedroom, and yes, misinformation exists. They can get everything they need, but there's something they're not going to understand. But can we just keep it a buck? There are people who have studied for 12 years and they still don't have all the information. They don't. Can we also be honest? Access changes forever. Access will continue to keep changing. And that means institutions no longer control learning the way it once did, which creates a big problem for a lot of people, because people now overestimate themselves too. Information access is not the same that it used to be when it comes to understanding. Watching 3 videos does not make somebody an expert. Reading terminologies does not mean that you understand the society as weird as it can be. Some people blindly worship institutions. I met a lot of them. Others blindly reject them. I've met a lot of them as well. Both groups stop critically thinking. The smart person, the smart person in a smart position is probably somewhere in the middle. Institutions matter, and institutions are also imperfect. Independent learning matters, and independent learnings can also become very delusional. Both realities exist. The question is, how do you see it? Where do you fit within it? And do you believe one is better than the other? Do you believe that no one should be listened to unless they have a degree? Because I've also seen how many people who have a degree, people who don't have it, have more information than they do. Because people like pretending that modern society became fully merit based, and I don't believe that it has. I believe the forms have changed. Historically, they've changed. Because before education, if you were a father who was, say, a blacksmith, you needed your son was going to become a blacksmith. They didn't really have an opportunity. If you were a farmer's daughter, you were also going to become a farmer yourself. If you were in royal blood, you were going to become part of royalty. It didn't really matter really what your education was. Opportunity was kind of in the ways compared to what true talent was. But people replaced inherent trade networks with institutional ones. Now, prestige wasn't the only thing that matters. School names, or rather, let me just change that around. Now, from those things that changed, from the fact that you had to do these things as if you were a blacksmith, you had a son, or if you were a farmer's daughter, you had to be a farmer. Now we changed it to saying that prestige, if you went to Ivy League school, that has to matter. That the school name that you went to, is regardless of Ivy League school, matters. Your social circle matters. Your recommendation letters that you get, not the fact that you have a great score, that you have a great GPA, and your test results look good, but the recommendation letters matter. That your connections matter more than what you know up here and how beneficial you can be to society. I ran into people that say it's about merit, and then immediately ask, okay, cool. Where did you study? And that tells you something. It tells you something because human trust is all about signaling. And honestly, a lot of hiring or not hiring is done the same way. Who is objectively the smartest? Who feels the safest when attached to the responsibility? And this is the problem that I'm really having with human beings. How we look at society, how we look at hiring practices, how we look at how people learn today. The differences between knowledge, authority, wisdom, competence. I think modern society blends too many categories together. Knowledge, intelligence, not the same thing, by the way. Wisdom, authority, legitimacy, credentials, and competence. People treat them like they're one and the same. They don't. A person can have authority and they can lack wisdom. They can have intelligence and lack social, or rather, and they can be socially ineffective. They can be knowledgeable and irresponsible. They can have all the credentials and still act shallow. They can be self-taught and deeply be insightful. Some of these categories can overlap sometimes, and sometimes they don't. I would even say often they don't. And I think that that part is based on maturity, and maturity is about the learning, not the blind worship of titles, but the learning while still becoming something that doesn't necessarily need to be looked at least what you were hearing me talking about, is anti-structure. Because the world gets dangerous at both extremes. Blind trust creates institutional arrogance. Blind rejection creates chaos. Neither one of them actually solves a problem. And figuring it out who truly understand what they're talking about gonna get lost. And honestly, this is something that's been happening for a long time. That takes more effort than most people are actually willing to give. Because let's be honest, titles are easier. And this is the stuff that goes on through my mind, especially when I hear so many people argue about the sacrifices, the time that's being spent in what they work on. And I keep saying to so many of you guys, people are not made the same. They're not born at the same area of the race. Some people are going to be more gifted. Some people are going to be less gifted. Some people are going to be working harder than others. So not to burn any more time that I've already had done, because I got something I got to do. I got to be up early in the morning. I think the real tension underneath is really simpler than when we look at it. People want the real tension that's really going to be going on in the world. People want the world where legitimacy and competency always overlaps. But that's just not the real world that we look at, right? Because sometimes the qualified person is genuinely excellent, right? They're average among the institutional protections that are out there. The self-taught can be looked at as being brilliant, and the confident are often the most ignorant. And we just, all of these exist simultaneously. It doesn't mean they don't know anything, but some people talk more boastfully than what they actually know. And some have a lot of information and they are really not confident about what they're talking about, even though they have it. And society keeps trying to simplify that reality because simplification is easier. Titles are easier. Degrees are easier. Competency is not, though. Intelligence is messy. And this is something that we even see online as people start bickering back and forth about who's smart and who's not. And I go, who cares if you're not doing anything to change the fabric of your life or for anyone else? Human beings, human beings understood things before institutions exist. Institutions are there to help organize knowledge, but only at a scale. The internet has pretty much fucked the game up for institutions, but because it disrupted control over information. And now society is trying to figure out Who deserves trust in the world where information is everywhere? And to me, that's really the conversation. Not whether education matters. That's not the real question. I think the real question for me that I'm going to end this with is, how do human beings decide who is allowed to be considered legitimate and who's not? Because I've met many people who have a title who, when having a conversation with me, are not legitimate, and people who have no title whatsoever, who has been shown to be more capable than most people that I've looked at. Some of you might be in school, some of you might be going to school, some of you might have been outside of school, and some of you may have never attempted school. Be honest with yourself based on your own experience of what you've seen and also what you think about yourself. Because some of you might be thinking, I might need to go to school. And some of you might be thinking, I've met plenty of people who just didn't measure up. It's not about really the indictment of other people, but it's a self-reflection on yourself. And also, if you need to go to school, how would that look for yourself? And how would that translate to the people outside of you? Not them first, but yourself. And then for those who have been in school, what does that look like for your family now? And is there something that you need to be doing differently? That's just what's on my mind. And it's something to think about. Until then, I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.